Why do I keep saying yes to the next therapy or protocol? And when do you say stop? I've been asking myself this a lot lately, and I've been surprised at the things that have come up for me. In some ways, I think that the size of the pain is commensurate with what we're willing to do to overcome it. But sometimes, how extraordinarily and wise our bodies work, they can convince us that it's not that bad. For me, though, when I started thinking back to why did I keep saying yes? Why have I continued to do, these are therapies that have cost a lot of money and have more than that cost a lot of time, a lot of my life. I've been spending on raw diets and grocery shopping and figuring out where I can order different products and making heavy metal smoothies and celery juices all morning and not being able to go out to eat and learning a new protocol and reading books about it and then, stacking up my supplements. And it's really taken a lot of my life. And so I've been thinking back on why did I do all of that? What was going on with me internally that drove me to continue to keep exploring and investigating and spending my life doing these things? The first thing that came to me is that I said, what if this therapy, this protocol is the thing that's going to make me feel better? And for me, it's been very difficult to say no to something that I think, I have hope for making a difference in my life. And then I said, what is the feeling better? Like, how bad did I feel? How bad have I felt? How bad do I feel? And that was an interesting, that's an interesting thing to look on. I was afraid to go very far from my home because I was afraid that I would get really tired or start feeling bad and I wouldn't be able to get home quickly. I remember going out at the time. I was, going to hear music in the middle of the night, in the middle of the jungle, and I'd be nervous and afraid before going, thinking, oh, I'm going to be stuck out in the jungle and it's going to be hard to get back to the car. And then I would be at those events and be looking at my watch and seeing if I'm going to be able to last through the event without feeling like crap and wanting to get home. I had this fear. And that fear, I realize now, was a fear that I wouldn't get to fully live my life. That the sleeping for 10 hours and taking a nap after lunch, the stress I felt around running my business and learning, growing my business, the emotional roller coaster because of the, connection between our guts and my gut and my brain. I was afraid that it was going to keep me from living my life. And if I think about it, I'd say the biggest kind of fear that I have in my life is not getting to live it fully, or not living it fully, or getting to the end of my life and regretting that I didn't fully live all of the experiences that I could have. So that pain of the physical symptoms that I was having, the fatigue and the digestive upset and the extreme, inflammation in my gut, and those were directly hitting on probably my biggest fear in life. Then as I think, I continue to think about that, that was kind of the physical side of things, the logistics of not wanting to travel as much or needing to take food with me when I traveled and not wanting to go far from home. There was also an emotional or maybe even spiritual aspect to it, which is that sick girl, I didn't feel like I was being the person I wanted to be. And I thought, what if this protocol, this therapy is the thing that will allow me to be the woman that I want to be? Feminine and soft and strong in my intuition and centered and living, my relationships with ease and grace, having the confidence to make decisions for myself and put limits where I needed to put limits. I wasn't getting to be that woman either. And so really I would say those two things, physically getting to go out and live my life to its fullest, and emotionally and spiritually getting to be the woman that I wanted to be, were the two things that kept me trying every protocol and every therapy and every diet. And I see now how, as I got better physically, I came more into that version, that vision of the woman that I wanted to be. And also I think the other happened as I had opportunities and moments to become more of the woman that I wanted to be, I felt better physically. Now I feel quite well. And I'm also much more of the woman I want to be. I think years ago I saw life as kind of these points on a otherwise sparse timeline. And if I didn't live that moment to the fullest, it might pass me by and I might never get to live it. Like from this kind of, scarcity and fear place. And now I see life as more of a continuum and a practice and a consistent unfolding that's happening always and all the time. And so as I think about where I am now as a woman and also where I am physically, I see how connected those are. And my mindset is that my relationship with my body and my health is a continuum. And it's ever evolving. And it's a relationship that I get to practice every day in each moment. And there was shame. It was like I didn't want people to see that version of me. And I have a lot of compassion and appreciation for that woman now. And I think because I felt like I wasn't, I felt like I wasn't able to solve my health problems. I was putting a lot of faith and responsibility on practitioners as well, and people who had figured out how to, heal the gut. And I was searching for answers outside of myself because I didn't have the trust that I could take care of myself and that I could heal my body, that my body, that we could do it, that I could do it. So I was searching for answers outside of myself. And I can see that I was doing that in other areas of my life too. It was certainly showing up in my physical body or my health journey. But I was also doing it in my romantic relationship with my partner, and I was also doing it in my business, where I thought maybe other people knew better than I did. Now, as I'm more of this mature woman and more in my body, and I trust that I know what's best for myself. I'm living life with more flow and ease and this kind of knowing wisdom inside of myself that I know what's best for myself. And it's also showing up in my relationships, in my life, in my work, in my romantic relationships with friends. If somebody, I can share myself with love and compassion, I can share myself and say, this is what works for me. what about you? And if we're not aligned, I understand that it's not personal, and that simply maybe, a different type of relationship is for us. I've done this with my career now. I worked for the most recognized brands in the world as their music department for many years, and I'm seeing what types of projects and clients don't work for me anymore. And there were many years of this kind of fighting this tension. And now I can just let it go and state my needs and identify the projects and the clients that work for me, and with grace and gratitude say no to what's not for me and not take it personally. That is such a gift that I've gotten out of all of these years of this work. And I think I used my physical body and the manifestations, the physical manifestations of the dis-ease and the tension in my life. I use the physical as kind of the first point to work on. And again, as I've done that, as I've worked on the physical, it's changed so many other areas of my life. So I'm looking down a little bit because when I had this idea to speak in this video about why did I keep saying yes to every protocol and trying it all, and when do you stop, I wasn't fully sure why I said yes to every protocol. And so I wrote in my lab notebook, and again, I was kind of surprised about what came out. So now, whereas years ago I took on most therapies that I came across, I was willing to try it all, and I said, what if this is the thing that would have me get to live the life that I want? And I just couldn't say no to that. That was enough. That was enough for me to take on the 3 months of, celery juice like this, or, whatever the protocol was. That was enough. And now I do less. And so I'm asking myself, when do I stop, or when do I decide to say no to protocols? Well, for one, I'm more of the woman that I want to be, and I listen because I have more centeredness and confidence that I know what's best for me. And so I listen to my body, and I continue practicing and working on developing this relationship with my body to see what it's saying that it wants. And I think I have tried doing this many times over the years, but when your body is, at least how I see it, is when my body was full of toxins, not operating well, under stress, exhausted, whatever I was listening to, I wasn't trusting that was a clear message, that the channel was clear for me to hear truly what my body wanted. Now, as my body gets clearer and clearer and cleaner and cleaner, I feel like I can trust what I'm hearing that my body wants and needs more easily. So in asking, if you should keep going, if you should do the next protocol or keep pushing or try another therapy or not, my question to myself is this coming from fear, something that I should do because somebody told me to, or because I saw it on Instagram, or is it coming from a tension between my mind and my body, like, you're going to do this, or is it embodied? Is it a decision that's embodied, that's aligned between my head and the research and information and the stories that I've heard from other people, is that aligned with how my body feels and what my body is asking for? So, why do you say yes to the next protocol? What is the hope that you have for yourself? And the decision to take it on, is it coming from a place of fear and tension and I should, or someone else's shoulds? Or is it coming from listening to your body and saying, yeah, you know what, that sits well with me? I just had an idea to just now. I'm gonna do a little exercise because, as I said, depending on where we are in our journeys, it might not be easy or clear to get that answer from ourselves about what our bodies want. So there's something that you can do that is, it's to tap into your own intuition. This is not an external source that's coming to you. This is yourself. But there's a few different ways to do it, but the way that's most, that works best for me is this. So we're gonna stand up and you will ask your body a question. And typically, let's see if I can, you may wanna put it in the form of like, is this, is acupuncture in, for my highest good right now? Or something like that. And if your body, and you'll stand like this, and if your body leans forward, that's a yes. And if your body leans backwards, it's a no. So you'll stand, you'll ground your feet. Sorry that my camera's not in the best angle, but you'll ground your feet. You'll find your balance, your hips right over the middle of your feet. Find your balance there. And then you say, is acupuncture for my best and highest good right now? Okay. And you see how I just very easily went backwards? How about this? You can start with things that you already know the answers to. So like, my name is Susan. My name is Harold. My name is Samantha. Okay, so you can try that, play around with things that you already know the answers to. And maybe that will help with honing your intuition and being more confident in your channel. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.